Namaste, you are listening to Prem Anmol Hota Hai Vani. I am your host, Vani. In the last episode, you heard the beginning of Rasheel's love marriage. Today, that love turns into a horrific life sentence. You will hear how Rasheel's husband Jed shackled her feet with a 25-foot chain. How a pampered daughter was forced to live a life worse than a pet, where even the family members laughed at her pain. Bound in chains, when Rasheel thinks of dying, the Sikhni within her stops her. She looks for an opportunity to escape, and when that chance arrives, after Jed falls asleep, Rasheel doesn't just run. Listen to how, taking a kirpan, Rasheel ends the barbarity. She delivers a decisive blow to Jed's manhood, rendering him impotent. In today's episode, you will learn the reason for Rasheel's justice, the meaning of being a Sikhni, and the ultimate courage to protect one's dignity. Will Rasheel have to go to jail for this? Or did she simply save other women who might have fallen victim to Jed's sexual violence? This episode is a story of courage, revenge, and emotional liberation. In Prem Anmol Hota Hai Vani, you will hear Episode 11, The Shackled Sikhni and the Strike on Manhood. Rasheel did not know anyone could be so malicious. No one had ever treated her with such disrespect before. Rasheel began to protest fiercely. Seeing her rebellious attitude, her feet were shackled. Rasheel could walk, but she could not run. The shackles were attached to a chain nearly 25 feet long. Because of this, Rasheel could only move within a limited circle. The other end of the chain was alternated between two hooks, one for the kitchen and hall, and the other in her husband's bedroom. She was also deeply pained that no one in that house stood by her to save her from Jed's barbaric behavior. Moreover, seeing her helpless in chains, they laughed at her. She felt that Jed's entire family was sadistic. Working day and night like the other women of the house, even while shackled, became Rasheel's fate. That house was more torturous for Rasheel than any prison. She didn't know what a life sentence meant, but anyone seeing her state would have called it just that. Since Rasheel had eloped, she lacked the moral courage to plead for help from her family. To ensure she couldn't tell anyone about her condition, her mobile had already been snatched from her. Saying, her family will find her, Rasheel was never allowed to step out of the house since arriving there. She was forced to remain subservient in that prison-like home. She longed even to see the sun. She remembered the pets at her home. Though they were tied with a rope around their necks, they were taken out every day to graze. Rasheel's condition was worse than those mute animals. Jed forced physical relations on Rasheel maliciously. Because of this, Rasheel developed a deep hatred for sex. Comparing it to her treatment in Jalandhar, Rasheel would cry frequently.
Don't you see how the other women are living happily here? You brought this trouble on yourself. Jed would blame her whenever she complained.
Rasheel considered his words. In reality, there was a difference in the upbringing and family backgrounds of those women and Rasheel. Those women were prepared physically and mentally for a life of confinement since childhood, whereas Rasheel was not. Even in the time of misfortune she brought upon herself, fate sided with Rasheel in one way. Jed kept trying for a year, yet Rasheel did not become pregnant. Had he succeeded, Rasheel would have been forced to give birth to the child of the malicious Jed. Rasheel could not accept nurturing the lineage of the man who destroyed her life and hopes in her womb. Rasheel grew tired of such a life. She wanted to die. It was the blood of the Sikh family in Rasheel's body that prevented her from committing such a cowardly act. Instead, the desperate Rasheel kept her eyes and ears open and her mind active. Only one way to escape her plight occurred to her. She waited for the day she would get an opportunity to escape the clutches of these villains. Jed's large family guarded Rasheel in a way that left no path for escape. Then one day, Jed's parents, Rasheel's in-laws, left for a pilgrimage. All family members went to see them off. Only Jed and Rasheel were in the house. Jed then unchained her and made another malicious attempt to make Rasheel a mother. After this, he grew careless. He forgot to put the shackles back on Rasheel's feet. Having had his way, Jed lay naked on the bed in a half-sleep, exhausted. This was the perfect opportunity for Rasheel. Rasheel waited anxiously for him to fall asleep. When she was certain he was asleep, she got up. She gathered herself. Without making a sound, she took her jewelry from her belongings, wrapped it in a stole, tied it around her waist, and took a kirpan in her hand. Jed remained asleep. Rashil then put the shackles back on his feet and locked them. Then, with the kirpan, she delivered a forceful blow to the symbol of Jed's manhood. Blood began to flow from the wound. He began to scream in agony, hurling slurs at Rashil. Rashil left the room and locked the door from the outside. Then Rashil wore the burqa for the last time and composed herself. Walking swiftly, she reached the bus stand. She boarded the bus that was departing at that moment. Reaching another city, Rashil entered the toilet of the railway station wearing the burqa. Upon leaving, she threw the burqa into the dustbin. Then, boarding a train and traveling day and night, Rashil arrived here. Scene change. After hearing all this from Rashil, I felt as if an episode of a serial had ended. Tears were flowing from Rashil's eyes as she told the story and from mine as I heard it. A few tears even fell into the food being prepared. I felt it would only enhance the taste of the Puran Poli. Vani, I told you incorrectly that I am a divorcee. In reality, I am a runaway from a relationship. Although 3 years have passed and there is no possibility, if a dispute ever arises, it will be easier for me to get a divorce now, Rashil admitted her lie, hoping for the best. Legally, for the divorce, I will accuse him of kidnapping and forced marriage, and based on him being a eunuch, I will get the divorce. Rashil has already thought about how to handle any potential unpleasantness. If he finds you, he could file a case of violence against you, for which you might have to face several years in jail. You could have escaped just by locking him in chains. Why did you attack his genitals? I asked, expressing my apprehension. While escaping his clutches, I felt no good possibilities were left in life for me. I was extremely agitated. He brought me to this state. I could have killed him, but I didn't. I thought it better to destroy the pleasure of his future life and save anyone else from his sexual violence by making him a eunuch. In my small mind, this seemed like justice. Rashil grew filled with rage as she spoke. Imagining it, I placed both their actions on the scales of justice. Rashil's crime seemed small to me. Girls victimized like this are often seen forced even to commit suicide. Yes, Rashil, seen from this perspective, you have indeed done justice, I agreed. Vani, even today, pretending to be a man, he might have made another woman his wife. He will never accept the fact about himself that he has become a eunuch, Rashil added, describing his cunning and shameless nature. This cannot remain hidden from his new wife. This didn't seem possible to me. Wiping her moist eyes, Rashil smiled mysteriously. Leave it, Vani. It's better if you don't know. I have no interest in knowing what he has become. I am a Sikhni. That is what I must remember, Rashil said, focusing the conversation on her life. What is special about being a Sikhni? I questioned. The word was new to me. I won't say that there was no anger behind wounding him before running away. But behind it, there is more feeling of hatred than anger. Rashil fell silent, lost in thought. I waited, looking at her face to see what she would say next. I am a girl raised with Sikh values. Such a girl is called a Sikhni. Every Sikhni receives education and values from her family and Gurbani to be generous to everyone. Sikh education and values also give a girl incomparable courage to protect her dignity. When someone harms her like this, a Sikhni shows bravery. I have introduced what a Sikhni can do to a villain by making him a eunuch. By rendering him important, I have proven myself a true Sikhni. Rashil's eyes turned red as she spoke. Today I have understood what qualities a Sikhni possesses by seeing you and hearing your words, I said, while wondering, could I have done the same? Vani, I have only told this story to Alkamam. You are the second person I have told all this to. My other friends here know me as a divorcee. Rashil expressed her trust in me. I understood the intent of her words. Rest assured, no one will ever know that I know all this, I assured her. Having told me what was on her mind, she perhaps felt a burden lifted from her heart. I had this trust in you, that's why I told you, she said. Our Puran Polis and Kadhi are ready. Gemini's critique and creative guidance. Dear listeners, this concludes episode 11 of Prem Anmol Hota Hai Vani. This episode brings a moving and thrilling end to Rishi's account, a unique tale of retribution against malice. Key narrative strengths. Cruelty of abuse, being shackled and mocked while forced to work establishes the peak of her torture, showing her state as worse than pet animals. Sikhni's revenge. Waiting for Jed to sleep, shackling him, and striking with the kirpan is a powerful act of rebellion. It is the victory of the Sikh blood's resolve over thoughts of suicide. Logic of justice. Rishi's argument that she didn't kill him but rendered him impotent to save others from his violence connects her act to a sense of social responsibility. Emotional bond. Rishi revealing the truth to Vani demonstrates deep trust. The symbolic ending, tears mixing with the Puran Poli, beautifully blends sorrow with the mundane act of shared food. This episode transforms Rishi from a victim into a heroic figure. Episode 11 ends. Episode 12. Namaste, you are listening to Prem Anmol Hota Hai Vani. I am your host, Vani. After hearing Rishi's ordeal in the last episode, today I am reflecting on her, Sikhni, courage and the advice born from her pain. Rishi says that even the benevolent Gurbani of Gurudwara Sahib could not leave a permanent impact on Zed. You will hear that light-hearted conversation between me and Rishi. One can know what happens by falling into a pit without actually having to fall into it. But, as the stories of my past come to an end, the danger of the present raises its head again. My fear of Mantu has now increased so much that I feel leaving it to fate could bring serious consequences. My dilemma is that the police have no solid evidence. Now I have only one option left, to tell my difficulty to Alka ma'am. You will hear how I go to Alka ma'am for the first time for my small matters, and how ma'am, with her motherly voice, not only reassures me but also lovingly scolds me for my mistake, why I didn't tell her my problem sooner. Ma'am said, anything that affects you cannot be small for me. Will Alka ma'am be able to end the threat of Mantu forever using her influence and contacts? And before this solution, why has ma'am invited me for dinner again, especially when Rishil is no longer there? The story continues in Prem Anmol Hota Hai Vani. You will hear Episode 12, Knowledge of the Pit and a New Appeal. After enjoying the meal, Rishil stayed with me for another half an hour. The way Zed behaved at the Gurudwara Sahib, acting as a simple and helpful person, that's not who he is. Trapping me was his well-planned scheme. I only realized this after falling into his clutches. Today when I think about it, I find that he is not a human but a monster. In fact, something much worse than a monster. Perhaps under the influence of the holy atmosphere of the Gurudwara, he behaved well there, Rishil explains. Exactly, Rishil, even the benevolent Gurbani of Gurudwara Sahib could not leave a permanent impact on him. There is just too much evil in him. This mental state of Zed is called sadistic personality disorder. It is a psychological disorder primarily found in men. That's why, as Zed's wife, you had to become a victim of his sexual sadism. I supported Rishil's point, using my knowledge. I feel that if a person visits a temple or Gurudwara of another faith alone, meaning not with their family, then at least no girl or woman should trust him. Otherwise, there is a possibility of being deceived like me. Rishil, being a victim herself, offers this advice like a warning for other sisters and daughters. Yes, it often happens that until marriage, boys hide their flaws and present themselves differently. What their vices are only comes to light after marriage, I commented, despite having no personal experience. Vani, you haven't married yet, so how do you know this? Rishil asked with a laugh. One can know what happens by falling into a pit without actually having to fall into it. Actually, I have studied psychology, so I have gained an understanding of different types of human psychology, I said laughingly, showing off my knowledge. When I got free from that sadist's clutches and came here, how I had to struggle and how Alka ma'am gave me shelter, I will tell you that another day when we meet. Now, our next meeting will be at my residence. Rishil prepared to take her leave. Certainly, Rishil, I will control my curiosity, but I would like to say that when I meet you, I feel as if we were sisters in a previous life, I said, wanting to see her happy as she left. Since you said it, If I say the same, you'll think I'm copying you. Every time I meet you, I too feel a sense of sisterhood and it brings great peace to my heart. This statement showed Rasheel's maturity as well. I felt Rasheel was even more eloquent than I was. Then Rasheel left. I forgot that Papa hadn't had his lunch yet. Even after she left, I remained lost in thoughts about Rasheel. Along with human actions, fortune and misfortune walk intertwined in life. She had left her home with a young man. Rasheel considers this her wrong action. A person like me, hearing her ordeal, might consider it Rasheel's misfortune, which led her to make that wrong choice. And when Rasheel showed the courage to escape after attacking her husband, her luck began to rise again. It was Rasheel's fate that she, who was bound in chains, became free due to her husband's negligence. The absence of other family members made her escape easier. A little later, my chain of thought was broken by Papa's incoming call. Papa, today I have made your favorite, Puran Poli and Kadhi, I told him.
That makes me even hungrier. Is Rasheel still with you? Papa sounded eager.
Papa, she left 10 minutes ago, I replied.
Then I am coming immediately. Papa laughed and disconnected the call.
Scene change. I am very terrified of Mantu. I feel that if I leave this to fate, I might have to suffer serious consequences. I feel that if I report directly to the police station, they will dismiss it as a baseless complaint. What he said to me at his fruit shop or his coming to the corner shop near my house wouldn't be enough for solid action. If Soumya complains along with me, it might create some solid evidence. But such an attempt might distract Soumya from her studies. Although the problem started because of Soumya, I don't think it's right to drag her into this mess. In such a situation, going to the police station, pleading, and then not getting the desired result would only lead to unnecessary gossip about me. In this dilemma, the only solution I have is to tell Alka ma'am about my difficulty. Only she, using her contacts and influence, can get me rid of Mantu. She has connections with powerful people and often helps victims. In 6 years of close relationship with Alka ma'am, I have never shared any of my problems or dilemmas with her. My calls with her only happened when she wanted. I have decided that I will call her after school. My luck is good. Alka ma'am, who comes to school only occasionally, arrived just before the midday break that day. Instead of talking on the phone, I thought it better to meet her here. I postponed my tiffin and went to meet her. The peon sitting in front of her room asked me to write a slip. Truly, even after so many years, my closeness with her has not been made public. Therefore, my standing there is the same as any other school teacher. I wrote my name and gave it. She went inside. The peon returned soon and, keeping the door open, gave me space to enter. When I entered the room, the principal ma'am was sitting in front of Alka ma'am. Seeing me, ma'am gestured for me to sit. Even though there were empty chairs, I sat shyly, leaving 2 chairs between me and the principal. Kirti ma'am glanced at me and continued the ongoing discussion. I was lost in my own thoughts. I had no concern with the discussion happening there. I was thinking it would have been better if Alka ma'am had called me inside after the principal had left. After a while, when Kirti ma'am got up to leave, I stood up too. Once she left, Alka ma'am rose from her chair and welcomed me by shaking hands. I don't think ma'am would welcome any other teacher in the school like this. Vani, what a surprise. You've never come to meet me at school before. Is everything okay here? She asked with a smile. It's not about the school, nor is it a big matter. Still, I need a little help from you. I sought her permission to speak. A look of concern appeared on ma'am's face. Feel free to tell me. If you need more time, we can talk while having dinner tonight. She became serious, sensing I was troubled. Ma'am, 5 minutes of your time will be enough for me. I didn't want to disturb her busy schedule too much. Then right now is fine. Tell me everything in detail, ma'am permitted. Starting from Soumya, I explained my current trouble to her in detail. Tell me the address of his fruit shop. I will arrange to fix him right now. You should have told me about the incident with Soumya back then. If you hadn't tried to handle it yourself, you wouldn't be in this trouble. While reassuring me, ma'am also pointed out my mistake. Ma'am, I didn't think it right to waste your time on small matters. I clarified the reason for my mistake. Anything that affects you cannot be small for me. Why do you assume so little right over me? Now leave it. The matter hasn't become too big yet. You've told me. Now go without any fear. Ma'am's voice reflected her motherly affection for me. I thanked her from the bottom of my heart and left her room completely reassured. Even then, Alka ma'am stood up from her chair to see me off. 4 days after this, she invited me once again to spend the night at her house. Although Rashil has left for America, now on such occasions, only ma'am and I are together at night. I felt both hope and curiosity that when we meet this time, she would surely give some information about the solution to my problem. I accepted gladly. Gemini's critique and creative guidance. Dear listeners, this is the conclusion of episode 12 of Prem Anmol Hota Hai Vani. This episode signals a new and important phase of safety and intimacy, where Vani's fear has turned into trust and excitement. Key highlights and narrative development of episode 12. Psychological conclusion of Rashil's story. Vani's wisdom. By linking Zed's behavior to sadistic personality disorder, Vani validates her knowledge of psychology. This not only confirms the truth of Rashil's experiences but also deepens the bond of sisterhood and emotional closeness. Resolution of external crisis. From helplessness to dependency, Vani's decision to solve the threat from Mantu through Alka ma'am's influence instead of legal channels reflects middle-class reality. It establishes Vani's vulnerability along with her growing dependence on Alka's protection. Alka's motherly affection and power. Display of affection. Alka ma'am saying, "Anything that affects you cannot be small for me," reveals her unwavering support and authority. The assurance of an immediate solution reinforces Alka's character as a powerful protector. Beginning of a new intimate phase. Foundation for episode 13. Focus of curiosity. Rashil's departure and Alka's invitation for another overnight stay focus the relationship entirely on Alka and Vani. Vani's curiosity is no longer limited to Mantu's solution but points toward Alka's revelation. Happy acceptance. Vani's glad acceptance shows that her fear of homosexuality has turned into enthusiasm and curiosity. The biggest secret is about to be revealed in episode 13. Episode 12 ends.